Daddy's not happy. He came to the UN today, and it was a total mess. Everything was broken. The escalators weren't even working. Trump and Melania were riding it up, and it just stopped. The First Lady lost her balance a bit, but steadied herself, thankfully, and then marched to the top. She could have been hurt, and the president looked over at the press and knew something was up. At first, we thought the escalator just malfunctioned, but then so did the teleprompter. Coincidence or sabotage? The UN tried to blame Trump. But on Sunday, the Times reported this, quote, to mark Trump's arrival, UN staff members have joked that they may turn off the escalators and elevators and simply tell him they ran out of money, so he has to walk up the stairs. The White House says this isn't a joke and is demanding an investigation. They could have hurt the most beautiful First Lady in American history. Why are we paying for a building that's just trying to injure the First Lady? If anything, it made the UN look bad, not Trump. The UN covered up for the China virus and then didn't stop the Iranian nuke program. We did. They're not making peace. So what are they doing? I visited the UN over 10 years ago. It's still the same.
What has the UN accomplished recently?
I don't know. Maybe it's the.
Do you ever just cut loose and go hit the restaurants afterwards and just tie one on?
You're in New York. What else would you do after the meeting?
What's the cuisine like in Nepal?
Cuisine means
The food.
food.
Yeah.
Food. Food. Rice and
Are you trying to stay out of trouble here in New York? Have you found romance here in New York?
romance. You?
Romance.
Romance.
With the ladies? Striking out?
No.
Things will pick up.
The UN's just a slush fund for lazy diplomats. Trump's trying to help them, and they're trying to embarrass him.
What is the purpose of the United Nations? The UN has such tremendous potential. I've always said it. It has such tremendous, tremendous potential, but it's not even coming close to living up to that potential. For the most part, at least for now, all they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter and then never follow that letter up. It's empty words, and empty words don't solve war. The only thing that solves war and wars is action.
We haven't heard much about the UN since the Iraq War. What have they been doing for the last 20 years, besides whining about climate change? Trump's Mr. Ceasefire, and the UN never even picked up the phone.
In a period of just 7 months, I have ended 7 unendable wars. It's too bad that I had to do these things instead of the United Nations doing them. And sadly, in all cases, the United Nations did not even try to help in any of them. I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal.
Harry Truman created the United Nations after World War II to help maintain peace and stop war. They're not doing that. All they're doing is funding invasions.
Not only is the UN not solving the problems it should, too often, it's actually creating new problems for us to solve. The best example is the #1 political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. The UN is supposed to stop invasions, not create them and not finance them. We have reasserted that America belongs to the American people, and I encourage all countries to take their own stand in defense of their citizens as well. You have to do that because I see it. I'm not mentioning names. I see it, and I can call every single one of them out. You're destroying your countries.
The UN unleashes refugees, then blames it on global warming so it can ask America for more money. That's the scam. And Biden was in on it. He kept our border open and then gave the UN $1 billion to stop global warming. My producer went to Portugal. I know, we pay him very well. And said it was 2 hours at customs because there were plane loads of Muslim refugees with their whole families. They don't speak English or Portuguese or Spanish or even French. And the Portuguese officials were trying to fingerprint them, and all hell broke loose. And at the end, they were like, all right, just go right in. My producer's mom talked to the customs official, who was livid, and said, yeah, there are plane loads of these people who are coming in all day, every day, and we just have to let them in. You see them on boats racing onto the shore in France. If we don't protect the birthplace of Western civilization, we're finished. How long can we go before Europe ceases to exist? Cities across the world are turning into little Jalalabads.
I look at London, where you have a terrible mayor, terrible, terrible mayor. And it's been so changed, so changed. Now they want to go to Sharia law. But you're in a different country. You can't do that.
The UN's been telling us it doesn't matter because, we're all going to die.
The executive director of the United Nations Environmental Program predicted that by the year 2000, climate change would cause a global catastrophe. He said that it will be irreversible, as any nuclear holocaust would be. This is what they said at the United Nations. What happened? Here we are. All of these predictions made by the United Nations and many others, often for bad reasons, were wrong. They were made by stupid people that have cost their countries fortunes.
The world hasn't ended, but they did end fossil fuels. Everybody went green and then went, oops, this doesn't work. Germany went full Al Gore with windmills and solar panels. They paid China billions for it. It was such a disaster, they went back to buying Russian oil. China laughed their way to the bank. They had the green market cornered and robbed the West blind. And to make it worse, unvetted foreigners are sucking up the rest of the resources. Trump said, I told you so.
It's time to end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now. See, I can tell you. I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell. If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail. And I'm really good at predicting things, you know. They actually said during the campaign, they had a hat, the best-selling hat. Trump was right about everything.
You have a choice. Kill your culture and your currency, or use a little common sense. Then everybody can get a job, get married, have babies, go to church, and go on vacation, and give a little back. And if everybody can get their own houses in order, we don't have to police the world and be the bad guy. That's what they say they want, right? Biden used to come in and to the UN and say it was all about autocracy versus democracy. And the intelligentsia would nod their heads and stroke their chins. Well, all that means nothing if you can't keep your lights on and control your borders.